Sean Murphy and Dave Stewart reveal Bruce Wayne and Derek Powers' history as Barbara Gordon recruits a familiar face to aid Bruce in his mission to get back the Beyond suit and to stop Powers. Sean Murphy continues to flesh out his story this issue, finally diving into the background of Bruce and Derek's shared history, tying it wonderfully back into the Von Freeze cryotech Nazi stuff he developed in the previous volumes of the book. One of the running themes this issue, and really over the whole series, has been Bruce not being truthful, and here it's on full display as we only ever get half-truths and only one side of the story, and given what Bruce has done in the past, it kind of makes you question if his story about Derek is the whole truth, or if he's omitting key facts. Derek has also been playing this game with Terry and manipulating the boy into thinking that Bruce is the one responsible for his father's death in order to get him to try and kill the older Batman and wipe him out so he can take full control of the company and the Beyond suit. The great change up for the original Batman Beyond storyline and continues the series themes of everything not being so black and white and there always being hidden truth somewhere. Duke getting a new role in the story as the new Robin wasn't somewhere where I saw his story going, but is an interesting swerve, and I like that so far he's really the only character without some big ulterior motive or hidden agenda. He just wants to help the people of Gotham and do right by them, which is the purest form of the symbol of Batman. So I think it'd be cool if he takes up the mantle of the Batman, since he really embodies everything that it stood for. Murphy and Dave Stewart also continue with a fantastic artwork this issue, giving us the most of the Beyond suit we've ever gotten throughout the series so far, as well as Bruce's new costume, which is very un-Batman, being that that's the point he's trying to break away from Batman, this time using an open cowl and a big coat. It looks really cool, but the open cowl makes him incredibly vulnerable since someone could just shoot him in the face. Again, it all looks great in motion, and how Murphy paints it in him jumping off of buildings and sailing through the air with a grapple hook, it all looks great, and the hard-hitting fights at the end of the issue were a lot of fun to see play out thanks to the plain white backgrounds that help us focus solely on the characters just beating the crap out of each other. Batman Beyond the White Knight issue 3 was a meaty plot-centric issue that filled out a lot of the backstory between Bruce and Derek Powers, expertly tying it together with previous installments of the series, along with some new characters to make up for a compelling piece of storytelling. I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. Batman Beyond the White Knight issue 3 finds Terry spying on some guards at Gotham Tech, told by Derek that his suit can let him listen in on conversations as long as he touches the glass in front of him. He hears the men talking about the crappy coffee as Powers activates the suit's cloaking tech, letting Terry into the building unseen, but almost immediately he runs into a guard who spills coffee on the suit, shorting out the cloaking tech. Terry tries to play it off as a hallucination from all the caffeine the man is drinking, as in Harley Quinn's home, the woman yells at Bruce for Powers forcing her to testify against him, and she only married him so he could protect her with spousal privilege. She wonders why he can't just be grateful she was able to help him, but Bruce knows that marrying him was a step back out of her new life, free of people taking advantage of her. But Harley knows that that was her choice to embrace her family, and Bruce was a big part of that family, which is why she couldn't abandon him in jail. She knows that it's her turn now to walk out on him, leaving the room as Jack comments about how she's allowed to call him Bats, but he isn't. Bruce knows that's because she's different, and Jack wonders if he ever is going to tell him about how he was married to the love of his life. Bruce thought it made sense at the time, but now he's not so sure. The two continue to argue over Bruce and Harley's relationship as Bryce arrives, happy to see his Uncle Bruce. The boy asks if he's going to help find Jackie since his sister has gone missing after she found a file on Joker. Jack isn't happy they know how he died since it was meant to be classified information. Jack pleads with Bruce to bring his daughter home as Bruce tells Bryce and Jack to calm down since he's going to find Jackie. At GCPD, Duke sees Barbara about wanting to rejoin the GCPD, but she denies him. Duke doesn't want to get involved in whatever's going on between her and Dick, but Barb knows that the GCPD doesn't need him right now, but Bruce Wayne does, wanting him to surrender his badge and gun, but only in secret since he'll be working with her and helping Bruce bring down Derek Powers and the GTO. Duke knows that Bruce hasn't asked for their help, but Barb knows that he eventually will, and this is how it always goes with him. She knows that if Bruce wants to rid the city of Batman, that that puts him at odds with Powers, and he is the key to regaining control of Gotham. Duke wonders how she thought he and the other people would join in a civil war in Gotham, and Barb knows that the people that work for her are all middle class earners like most of the people in the city, so they don't just protect the people, they are the people as well. Duke hopes that she is right about these people seeing the GTO as the enemy and not them, as Barb tells him that they need to find out what Powers is really up to, but Duke asks how he's meant to do that without a weapon. Barbara hoped he'd ask that, gifting him a Robin costume. Duke thinks that it's a little bright, but she knows it's going to grow on him, welcoming him to the team. Terry meanwhile escapes the guards at Gotham Tech, cutting the power to the room and hiding in the shadows as he fires a grapple at one of the men, pulling them into his friends and knocking them all down as he tells Derek he won't hurt them, wanting to do this his way. Terry races deeper into the facility, finding the computer chip they need to steal, but Derek takes control of the suit, wanting to push it to see what else it can do, using it to fling batarangs at one of the guards, wounding him. Jack meanwhile says that he would give anything to be with Harley again, calling her Gotham's most beautiful diamond, and when one diamond was enough, he gave her 3 of them, looking at her old costume. Bruce wants him to shut up as Jack says that Bruce can have his blessing to be with Harley, and is just glad that it's him and not someone else. Bruce gets to painting up his armor as Jack says that he just wants to help out and they are wasting time, wanting him to put the bat suit on and get moving. Bruce knows that he'll find Jackie and Powers, but they are doing this without Batman. Jack knows it's going to take a lot more than a coat of paint to get away from Batman as Harley comes back, wondering who Bruce is talking to, but he plays it off as just talking to himself since he feels like he's losing control of his mind lately. She asks if he has anything to tell her and he talks about his panic attacks, and Harley knows it's no surprise he has had one, shocked he hasn't actually had one before, but she knows that he might have another one at the wrong time and it could put him in serious danger. Bruce asks if she can just give him some pills to deal with them, but Harley tells him she can give something for his anxiety, but at some point he's going to have to tell her what is really going on since he's hiding something from her. She notes the new suit, but Bruce says that it's just the prototype he made before designing the Beyond suit, and while it can't be invisible, it will cloak him from cameras and sensors. He knows the idea of it is to gain the advantage by going low tech, but Harley wonders if he's planning on turning the city against Powers by having them watch the GTO beat him to a pulp, but Bruce plans on relying on his training, and he can't involve any of his other family members or Harley. Bruce heads out before Harley can join him, as at the GTO, Dick tells Derek that Bruce got away from them, knowing someone was feeding him data and he was talking to someone, and it's how he found the weakness in their GTO suits. Powers thinks that Bruce is losing his mind, since why else would he try and accuse him of stealing the Beyond suit? Dick thinks that Bruce is misguided and stubborn, but he's not crazy and he'll have a reason for thinking that, knowing Bruce did trust Powers a long time ago. Powers doesn't think that it was trust, and Dick knows it was more like a mutually assured destruction if the truth ever came out, but Derek tells him the truth did come out and Bruce went to jail for it. He tells Dick that they both together have done more for Gotham than Bruce ever could, and Dick's legacy for Gotham will stand the test of time over Bruce's tarnished, lie-filled legacy. He tells Dick to focus on hunting Bruce and not on him, as Dick tells him about the Amber Alert on Harley Quinn's daughter, knowing Bruce will be going after her. Elsewhere, Terry plans on heading to Club 34 with Dana, finally getting a night off from Derek's work. Dana asks what he does for Derek Powers, but Terry won't say, soon getting a call from him as Derek tells him that he knows where the man is who killed his father. Bruce meanwhile leaps across the city as Jack says that at first he wasn't liking the new costume, but it's growing on him and everything about it is a good look for Bruce. Bruce wants Joker to shut up with the commentary, but Jack tells him to stop calling him Joker, while Bruce wants him to stop calling him Bats. Jack relents, knowing they both have a lot in common and are trying to forget what they used to be, but Bruce thinks that's all they have in common. However, Jack reminds him they're both fathers looking to fix their families. He asks Bruce about his history with Derek, so Bruce reveals that Derek's real name is Derek Powers, and his family immigrated to Gotham after their home was destroyed by a missile attack, and his father was a brilliant engineer who was hired at Wayne Cryotech by Victor Fries. Derek followed his father's footsteps and made dozens of valuable discoveries over the years, but soon he learned of Cryotech's ties to the Nazis Nazi scientist Baron von Fries, and rather than quit, Lucius Fox transferred him to the automotive division, and he revamped Wayne Motors from the ground up, making vehicles for the military and loading them with weapons. Bruce didn't like this and he threatened to shut him down, but Derek blackmailed Bruce, threatening to tell everyone that he is Batman if he is fired. Bruce knows that at the time Batman had been around for only a few months, but Powers had gotten pictures of the Batmobile and worked out that he was using parts from Wayne Motors. So rather than blow his cover, Bruce turned Powers and Wayne Motors into R&D for Batman. Jack knows that it's always been a tenuous relationship with the men, so why did they change the company's name to Wayne Powers? Bruce isn't so sure, especially after Azrael uncovered the truth about the Waynes. Jack thinks that he continues their legacy, but Bruce knows he's not a true Wayne. Jack knows that no one in the city cares since they all still love Bruce Wayne and Batman, and while his current suit is fine, he will need to embrace the cape and cowl since that is who he really is. As they reach the GCPD, Terry arrives confronting Bruce, as Bruce attacks with his batarangs, but they do nothing against the upgraded suit, so he decides to just physically attack Terry, telling him whatever Powers has planned, it won't work. Terry throws Bruce into some pipes, demanding he tell him what he knows about Warren McGinnis. Bruce has no idea who that is, trying to escape, but Terry quickly catches him, smashing Bruce's leg and crippling him. Terry says that he's not giving the suit back until someone tells him what's really going on, as Duke appears, smashing Terry in the face and telling him to give up the suit. The new Robin defends the injured Bruce, but Terry pushes Duke back into the hero, causing Bruce to fall from the roof onto a GCPD car below, where the cops and Barbara Gordon find him.